For the industry address, may I now please invite Mr. Arvind Kakru, Vice President, Industrial Automation, Schneider Electric. Can we have another round of applause?
Mr. Mittal, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you. Today's session is more about leveraging technology in the water segment. And, frankly, I'm a little bit speechless because what I would have possibly said has already been said and shown, by Mr. Belsare and Mr. Mittal very, very crisply and very, very articulately. And I'm really pleasantly surprised with some of the initiatives that is going on, within the government, within the ministry, and, how technology has been even leveraged, so far, by the ministries. And there's still some way to go, but it's really commendable. And thank you so much for, all the initiatives that you've been taking. And we would be very glad to participate as a partner from a private partnership point of view in terms of showcasing some of those technologies and also leveraging and deploying them over a period of time. I'll make an attempt, to kind of try to talk about some things which are beyond what they already said, but a lot of that is already relevant to a very large extent. Now, we all know India has been growing very, very strongly. It's one of the largest economies that is growing the fastest at this point of time. And water is an important element of that growth, be it industrial or be it like going to the last mile of population, be it potable or drinking water, and all of them have some elements of technology is also involved in that. So it's very important for us to focus on water management, water efficiency, and overall end-to-end, let's call it smart water, as some of the industry terms mention that. So these are some critical things, for us to look at. I'll try to focus a little bit on some of those technologies that would be useful in that deployment, etc. So I'm going to talk a little bit global and local, countrywide. Most of it should actually make sense, for you also in terms of implementation and execution. But if there is an opportunity, we can possibly spend time over here. And I know a lot of you already came a bit early and we started the session a bit late. You had a look at some of the technologies, that we are showcasing over here. And for those who did not so far, they can have a look at that, time permitting, after we are done with the sessions. So water efficiency or water leakage is a very critical element. Almost 40% of water is wasted, and it's very important to have a look at that, and what some of these automation and digital technologies can provide in terms of minimizing that to the very large extent. It's not possible to kind of get it to a 0% level, but the closer we go to the Western benchmarks, that is really, really kind of the focus, of the companies, and it's really helpful in, let's say, water saved is water produced. Another element is energy, which is energy efficiency or energy management as well, although it's not directly linked to that. But if you look at treatment and distribution and all those, and a lot of those elements come in, which are there from a energy efficiency point of view. And we could leverage and deploy some of those technologies in that space as well. If I talk about what Mr. Mittal was saying, leveraging data and data collection, and I was impressed but surprised also at the same point of time, right? And it's been saying that data is the new oil, etc. But what do you do with data after that? But very important point, first of all, is to have the data collected, from multiple sources, and we typically, from our industry terminology, call it, say, connected products, which have to be used in capturing your data from the field, which could be devices, which could be electrical instrumentation kind of devices or sensors, which provide you the feedback or the signals, from the ground. And then you take it to the next level, which is, we call it edge products, which is how do you do the automated processing of that data. And it's still a black box, but you at least capture the data at one place, you process it, and you leverage it for much better monitoring, controlling, dashboarding, so on and so forth. So you go to the next level, which is more on the digital side, which is how do you do a historical analysis of the data, which is like if you go with a pattern of the data, what it's been showing, how do you compare different sites of yours or different projects of yours, and you figure out, what happens in terms of efficiencies or downtimes, or even, how, the processes have been, are there learnings for us from there or not. So these would be some critical things, and you go back into the history and again look at the predictive analysis, which is more around how do you control, destiny, which is again based on the historical data, but goes into the future. And then there are technologies that could be leveraged, from there in terms of much more efficient management. There could be technologies related to asset management. Some of the assets used in water management are really expensive. And I'll focus on the larger industry equipment assets as such there, which is, again, if you are able to predict failures ahead of time, that's a tremendous amount of saving, and also prevents downtime to a very large extent. If you look at analyzing the patterns and how to kind of take corrective actions, going forward, it could go to the extent of identifying water leakages as well. And also proactively taking steps in terms of how do you manage the equipment and the assets on the ground. Some more technologies that have been used are, say, XR, which is on display here, mixed reality, which is more for the operation and the maintenance side of it, which is like how you can, if suppose there are very real critical equipment which is supplied by people who are not available on the ground, or there's a critical action to be taken, but they can be guided remotely using the mixed reality technologies, and they can do a good job of that. But beyond that, also from a training point of view for people who are not exposed to that, it's really critical from that point of view. And I'll also talk about cyber security, and I don't think we talked about that here today, and I don't know how much of that is deployed right now across the government, municipal bodies, and water management companies, and so on. But it's become a real threat, on the infrastructure side, and it's in the extreme scenarios it becomes a kind of national threat, all the infrastructure assets. But more regular and frequent, I think the news outbreaks are more around ransoms. A lot of companies, even in this year, I think 2 or 3 cases came to light. And how do you deploy some of those technologies, for efficient usage and not get disturbed or not disturb, the whole water management distribution process as such. So glad to be here, and thank you all of you for your participation here. It's been a full house, and we also look forward to some feedback from you in terms of what you're trying to do, how we could possibly align ourselves in that direction, and exchange some views also here. And please do spend a little bit of time on the demos that we have put up. They're both on the automation side as well as on the digital side, and we'll be pleased to have that answer. We have a big team of Schneider here, and who would walk you through some of those booths and demos. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Another round of applause for this power-packed talk.